Technology's a blast. All right, we're live. Oh man, we had a fun pre-call just now. We were laughing quite a bit. That's good. Guys, it's Dr. Casey Pride here. I'm here with my very good friend and colleague, Dr. Charlie Fagenholz. We practice together at the DOIN Health Institute. And I love having Dr. Charlie on because he has such a unique perspective on health. He's a guy, I mean, he's been out of school. How long have you been out of school, Charlie?
A little over 5 years.
A little over 5 years, and he's got a waiting list practice here in Costa Mesa, California. I mean, he's doing it right. He's just such a sharp doc. People will wait for weeks to be able to get in to see him, and it's because he knows how to help you get healthy. And so that's why I like to have Dr. Charlie on here to chat. So Dr. Charlie, thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah, man, always a pleasure. Always.
I love doing this, man. And I know we've had some interesting conversations because with this whole COVID thing, health has become not just an important topic in general. It's become probably the most relevant political topic in the world. So everyone is so focused on health and talking about health right now. And well, first of all, do you think that with everything that's happening, do you think there's a real focus on building health right now and helping people get healthy?
No, not in the slightest. But I would also say that it's never been like that. It doesn't matter if it's COVID, H1N1, SARS. It just doesn't. It's just a different name each year, every 4 years, whatever you want to say. It's never been like we've been talking about. It's never been proactive. It's always been reactive, and that's an issue. That's a big issue because your body can only handle so much until it's the tipping point, and then boom, you crash, and it's like you should have been proactively building your health this whole time, not just waiting for a symptom to arise.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest disservices that the government has done, this country is lead people to believe that if you feel good, you're healthy. And the drug companies too, where if you don't have a symptom and you feel good, then therefore you must be healthy. And what are your thoughts on that?
Man, first, I don't think that people really understand what it's like to feel good. So they have nothing to compare it to. They've never felt great their whole life, but a lot of people have been asymptomatic. And the two are not the same. They're very different. They're not congruent. And like you said, it does a big disservice because in the last, say, 100+ years, Western medicine and is pharma driven, as you just said. And what that does is it conditions people almost like a hypnotherapy effect to think that if you have no symptom that you're healthy. And so what people do is, Americans are lazy, I would say, across the board, and in health, it really brings that to light. So they won't go to a doctor until they feel an issue. And the problem with that is that doctors in this country are trained in emergency medicine. And to build health with emergency medicine is impossible. It's just not rational. And that's what you and I were kind of talking about, and how like when people come to us, and first we have to undo generations of thought processes with these patients, which can be pretty hard because, when something's so programmed into you, it's hard to undo. And we have to bring them from a reactive to a proactive type model, which is really what has to happen across the board for us to deal with pandemics and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. I think we definitely don't have a virus problem. We have a health problem in this country. And you're frozen up just a little bit, Charlie. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but
yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay, good. Yeah, we definitely have a health problem. The CDC's own data came out and said that 6% of people who died from this thing actually died from just this. And I'm even skeptical of that number, but that means 94% of people were already unhealthy, and their body was just in such a weakened state that they were susceptible to this, to this virus, and they would have been susceptible to any other virus. Yeah. And yet the virus gets blamed 100% for it instead of this lack of this lack of health, which is really what it is.
Yeah.
So I know that's kind of a skewed perception that people have, where they feel like if they don't have symptoms or they don't have a positive test result that says, oh, you have this disease, that they're good.
Yeah.
So how would you define health?
How would I define health? I think that at its base, and if I start freezing, let me know, because my internet's been a little wacky, so I can try to switch to a different network.
Yeah, you bet.
Cool. So I would define health as whoever's the most adaptable. I think that at its core, yeah, we can have, we can think good thoughts. We can be healthy from a chemical standpoint and stay adjusted physically. However, when you break it down even further, I really think.
Nope. I think we might have just lost Dr. Charlie.
And the people who do not adapt don't do well. So true wellness is ultimate. I'm there. Are you there?
Yeah, I think you're freezing just a little bit. We lost you like just in the middle of your nugget there.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right, cool. So I would say that the ultimate health and wellness is the ultimate adaptability. And so if you can adapt, you do well. But if you don't adapt, then you don't do well. So when I break it down, I really think that I preach adaptability because it really encompasses everything from a structural, chemical, and emotional standpoint.
Yeah, I love that approach too, man. And the way that I've always looked at health, and adaptability is such a good word for it, because it's an optimal state of function and healing. It's not and that means you're adaptable, right? When you look at how your body is able to adapt, right? Your body has to maintain this state of function and healing, even with the various stresses that you throw at it, whether you have dietary stress, emotional stress, the stress of, the toxins you're breathing in, all of these different stresses that come into our body. And each of these stresses is almost like a ball that your body has to juggle, right? And it has to be able to keep these balls in the air. Yeah. But at a certain point, you're going to reach a point where there's going to be one ball too many, right? And when that happens, you don't just drop the one, you drop all of them. And that's
great analogy. Great analogy.
And that came from Dr. John Minardi. And the thing about it, people, another word for it is just the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's that one ball too many. And the more adaptable you are, the more stress that your body can handle and still function at a high level. If you're not adaptable, then you get exposed to a generally mild virus like COVID and your system collapses. So I love that. I love your adaptability definition when it comes to health. So yeah, that idea of feeling good equals health is one, skewed perception people have. What are some other ones?
Yeah, so I just went through the list. I talked about this in DC in 2018 at a conference of chiropractors. And what I said was that skewed perceptions is what keeps me hungry in practice. And that no matter how old I am, I will continually practice until the day I leave this planet, because these things need to be household ideologies. And so one of them is, and it's big right now with COVID, is detection is prevention. Now, I would say that the biggest thing that made me open my eyes to that was the cancer industry, because they say detection is prevention, but if you detect it, you didn't prevent it. So what sense does that make? It is such a reactive instead of proactive ideology that unfortunately people see all the time on TV and things like that. So it's like that hypnotherapy effect of, well, this must be true if, this news network is talking about this and this doctor's on this news network and he's an expert and all this stuff. But I mean, if you just think about it, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You probably don't even have to graduate high school to understand that ideology is that detection is not prevention in the slightest. And it irritates me, because it's like, you don't have to be in the medical field to understand that. Any logical person can see that and be like, wow, that actually, now that you say it that way, it resonates. And that's a huge one for me, at least, and especially in this COVID thing, is, as you know, that detection is prevention is so toxic. It's almost it's dangerous. It is dangerous. I'm going to say it is dangerous.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because I've had that conversation with so many patients, and especially ones who, for example, they go into their, and this is a close, this topic's close to my heart because my mom died of breast cancer. People go in to get their yearly mammograms to prevent breast cancer. I ask them, okay, so what would happen if you went in and they found cancer? mean, what did they prevent by giving you the mammogram?
Right.
And it's like, well, I guess they didn't really prevent anything. It's like, no, they found it, right? They found something that was already there, but nothing about you getting that mammogram every year prevented you from getting cancer. All it was that it helped you find it.
Yep.
So, there's early detection is not prevention, man. I'm so glad you hit that one. What's another one?
That common and normal are one and the same. Everyone has headaches or gut issues, so it's common. It's normal that I have it too, and that's another dangerous ideology that I think is, if you can do that, if you can if I can get on TV, if I can get on CNN and Fox News and every outlet across the country that millions watch, I would say that detection is not prevention and common is not normal.
Yeah.
And it's too often common and normal are like synonyms for people in a very dangerous way, and it's not. It's just not.
Yeah, and I was having a conversation just earlier this morning with Dr. Cody Jordan about this, where our country is probably one of the most sick on the planet.
Yeah.
We're 5% of the population. We consume 75% of the world's prescription drugs, right? So we take more medicine than anyone else on the planet. We spend more money per person on healthcare. So if taking more drugs and spending more money equaled better health, we would be number one in the world. We'd be the healthiest population on the planet. And when the WHO studied and actually ranked the health of, I think it was 191 countries when they studied.
It was like developed countries, right?
Well, they did. It was 191 countries, and then there were 36 first world or developed countries, and the United States ranked. You remember this?
Yeah.
United States ranked dead last.
Yep.
And so in the industrialized world, we were number 36 in that study. So this idea that common equals normal, man, in a country where we are that sick, I don't want to be like everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Common is probably not a good thing in a state like that.
The only thing I would say common is that I can use that word is, what is the common denominator on why everybody is so sick?
Yeah. And that's that's the question we need to ask. And I think instead of this reactive approach of, well, let's try to develop the therapeutic, right? Because we keep hearing about the therapeutics, right?
Yeah.
And the vaccines. What about just teaching people to live in a way that supports health and address the root cause, probably their lifestyle in their own life that's leading them to this weakened state. So these therapeutics aren't even necessary.
Right.
Right. I tell patients who, I have some patients who come in and they're on their drugs and they like their drugs for whatever reason, they say, yeah, it's worked for me. And I say, well, how about we get you so healthy that you don't need it anymore? I mean, how would that feel? And they're always on board. This idea that, people want true health. I think just most people don't know what it is and how to get there.
For sure.
So what's another? I know you threw another common skewed perception. You had one about chiropractic. I'd love for you to hit that one.
Yeah. So one of the ones that I also talked about was that if I go once, I'll have to go the rest of my life. And I laugh when I say that because I've heard that so many times. Well, if I come, now, then I'm going to have to start coming constantly. And my first question to them is, so have you ever asked your dentist that same question? That's the first thing I say, like to kind of, joke around with them a little bit and get them to have a little bit of humor. And then I flip it. I say, look, this is about building your health. The universal word is the action step. And if you're going to do one thing once and expect your whole health to be built, you're sadly mistaken. And it goes back to the hypnotherapy effect of, like, if I'm sick, I go to the doctor for a pill, and this pill is all I have to do, and I don't have to change my lifestyle, I don't have to do anything, and hopefully I'll get well. And people put so much faith in that, and another great disservice to humanity. But then, so that's what it is. It's not that you have to go the rest of your life. It's that health is a never-ending road that's being paved, and you need to pave it very accurately and be able to make people adapt, and that's what builds their health. It's not a one-time miraculous, now the rest of my life I'm good. And me and you get treated too. We practice what we preach. It's not like because I have this knowledge and you have this knowledge that all of a sudden we're healthy. We have the knowledge, but we have to put the work into doing it. We have to exercise, get adjusted, get emotionally cleared, get tested for the right supplements. We have to do it ourselves. And that's another thing. One thing is patients would be like, so what do you do? And sometimes people are complaining about taking 2 or 3 supplements. And I'm like, look, right now I'm taking 8 supplements, 8 different supplements in my regimen. And they're like, okay, well, if you do it, then it must be okay, kind of thing. That's another hilarious one.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed too. Is one thing that people ask me a lot is, who treats you? Who adjusts you? Who does emotional work on you? And it's like, man, a lot of people.
Yeah.
My health team, the people who take care of me, is a big team. I probably see several different docs, several different chiropractors, and we put the work in ourselves. And I think you have to, because I would not take dieting advice from an overweight nutritionist or an overweight personal trainer. I just wouldn't do it. I want to take advice from someone who believes in what they do enough to do it themselves. But I love what you say about health being a practice, because it's health is a daily practice. Health is the cumulative result of the choices you make on a daily basis. Every choice you make when it comes to diet, exercising, not exercising, getting adjusted, your relationships, your emotional stress, is either moving you closer to health or closer to disease. And you get to choose every day what steps you're going to take to move you closer to health. Yep. And for people who want to go to a chiropractor once, it's like, okay, you're going to get some benefit. You might feel good, but the people who get the best results from this are the people who do it consistently throughout life, and they enjoy these massive benefits from that. It's kind of like, if you were to see a personal trainer and you want to get ripped, you can go to the best personal trainer on the planet, get the best workout in. And if you do it once, your body's going to look the same when you walk out of that building. It's the time and the repetition of that positive habit and behavior that creates the change over time. And the same is true with maintaining the health of your spine and your nervous system. Just like you said, did you ask the dentist that question? You're going to clean my teeth once and I'm good till I'm 100 years old. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that.
It's good. It also lightens the mood in the room too. And as soon as you're have that funny dialogue, patients will resonate a little more with you.
Absolutely, man. That's good. So, right now with COVID, one thing that I see that concerns me quite a bit is I see a lot of people sitting around doing nothing and waiting for the superhero government to come in and save them, and be the solution to this whole situation. What do you think about that approach?
The best saying is that if you trust the government with your health, you'll be as healthy as the government. Simply put. And and I've talked to you a little bit before about it, on how I've never really been a political person before, until this last year, maybe 2 years. Really, the first thing that sparked it was when Hillary was running. She was backed by Big Pharma, and that's all I really didn't want to have in office, literally. And then now it's become such a world that it revolves around politics now more than ever. So a lot of my family will talk to me about politics, and a lot of us are not on the same page. And they bring up the COVID thing, and it's hard for me to have that conversation, because where you and I come from, government has never handled health well at all. And so to say that a party is doing good or bad, I'm going to disagree with both. Pretty much everything that the parties do, I'm going to disagree with, because it's the system, the medical system needs to really be built back from the ground up on time-tested, proven ideologies that the power that made the body heals the body. And that if you're not building health, you're coasting. And the only way to coast is downhill. And you need to feed the body the right fuel, think the right thoughts. And then things like COVID, or just viruses in general, can't survive on a healthy host. They can't.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think a lot of people forget is, a pathogen like a virus or a bacteria or a parasite or something is like a seed. It needs the right soil to be able to grow and to be able to spread. And these viruses and bacteria are not things that just happen to you. You have to be in a compromised, weakened state that basically fosters its growth and development and spread throughout your body. Yeah. So it's not sick people who are sick with COVID who become unhealthy. It's unhealthy people who get sick.
Exactly.
And one of our colleagues, his name's Dr. Nick Wilson. He's a guy who graduated from my chiropractic school. He said something so good recently. I'm going to read it. He said, and this kind of ties into the political piece of this. He said, watching a sedentary and obese nation of sugar-dependent, processed food addicts blame our lack of leadership for a virus that disproportionately affects those who are sick and overweight. Stop with the political rhetoric and take some personal responsibility. Now, that may seem like kind of a slap in the face or a 2x4 between the eyes, but there is so much truth there where, I know some people might hear that and be offended. They might feel like a victim. I look at that as empowering. Yeah. And I was saying this earlier because, if you will just accept responsibility for the state your health is in, just acknowledge that your state of health is at some level, largely, at a large level, the state of your health is largely the result of the choices you've made in life. Whether you knew they were good choices or not, right? Whether you had the good information to make those choices or not, right? If you just acknowledge that where you are is the result of your choices, that's empowering, because if you want to change your life, all you have to do is make different choices. That's empowering. And, to anyone who's watching right now, if you're fearful of this COVID thing, you're fearful when it comes to your health, look, make different choices and you can change your life. That's all you have to do is just start making different choices today. And you can take your health and your life in a completely different direction. Yeah,
that's such a good saying, man. I would say that the one saying is that people say the truth hurts, but also the truth will set you free.
Yeah, what's that saying? Like, the truth will set you free, but it might piss you off first.
yeah, there you go. I like that one too. I'm going to take that one.
yeah. But I think I think we owe it to people to be honest, though. And I know that's one thing that people can count on when they come to our office is we're going to be completely honest with them and tell them the truth. Yeah. And we love them, and we're going to tell them the truth no matter what. And ultimately, it's for their benefit. And I think everyone who comes to see us appreciates that. I know your people do, and I know mine do. So, man, I'll give you the last word. What does the world need to hear from Dr. Charlie Fagenholz?
Man, that it's never too late to build your health. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young. It doesn't matter where you're at in life. The universal word is the action step, and any little change, it goes a long way. It's all about progress, not perfection, and that needs to be known, because people will immediately say, "Well, it requires all this work." Look, doing 1 or 2 things a day that makes you better than you were yesterday will send you on the right trajectory. And it's all about being in that trajectory your whole life. And it's never too late.
I love it, man. Yeah, I think it always ties back to, like, what's the one thing you can do today that's going to move your health in a better direction? What's the one thing? I mean, drink twice as much water, and don't drink anything else. Just drink water all day and drink a lot of it, and do that every day and see what happens. It's like, what's the one thing that you can do? So, man, I appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure.
Always fun, man.
We'll definitely have to do this again soon, man.
Sounds good. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you, man. Guys, have a good weekend.